The Crown of Beale, The Ascent of D. Part 1. The Asphalt Jungle. The humidity in North Memphis didn't just sit on you, it weighed you down like a wet wool coat, thick with the smell of river water and exhaust. For 12-year-old D, the heat was a constant reminder of the friction of his life. He started at the bottom of the pyramid, not even a soldier, just a lookout, with a cracked burner phone and a pair of scuffed Nikes that had seen too many miles. His world was a 3-block radius where the sidewalk was cracked by the roots of ancient oaks that had seen more funerals than graduations. His first office was a crumbling porch on Jackson Avenue, where the paint peeled like sunburnt skin. His job was simple: whistle or tap a rhythm on a hollow metal railing when the blue lights of the MPD crested the hill. For $50 a week, he watched the work move in small, jagged rocks of white gold tucked into medicine bottles and sandwich bags. He saw the desperation in the eyes of the buyers, men who used to be mechanics and mothers who used to be choir leaders, and the coldness in the hearts of the sellers. D wasn't just watching for cops, he was studying the mechanics of power. He learned which dealers got high on their own supply and faded away, and which ones kept their money folded neat and their mouths shut. He realized early on that information was just as valuable as the product. Part 2. The Hand-to-Hand. By 16, D had graduated from whistling to serving. He was a low-level runner, moving eighths and quarters between the shadows of the high rises in the foothills and the dark corners of Orange Mound. This was the era of the true tribulations. The streets of Memphis were a meat grinder in those years, and D was caught in the gears. He lost his best friend, Marcus, to a botched robbery over a few $100s and a cheap watch. D had to wash Marcus's blood off his own windbreaker in a gas station sink, realizing then that loyalty was a luxury the poor couldn't always afford. He spent 3 nights in a cold cell at 201 Poplar after a frantic foot chase through an alleyway that smelled of rain, rot, and old grease. The lead detective tried to break him, but D stared at the wall, reciting the names of the streets he lived on like a prayer. When he got out, he didn't go back to his old crew. He realized that the street wasn't about who was the loudest, it was about who was the most indispensable. While other dealers spent their trapping money on gold teeth, designer belts, and oversized rims to impress girls at the mall, D lived like a ghost. He ate canned beans, slept on a floor, and kept his ledger sharp in a composition notebook. He started sourcing his own supply, forging a dangerous, secret alliance with a crew from South Memphis that everyone else was too afraid to talk to, slowly building a reputation for being the only man in the city who was never short on a package and never late on a payment. Part 3. The King of the Bluff. The transition from dealer to kingpin happened in the silence of a Memphis winter, when the ice storms turned the city into a graveyard of glass. D had survived 3 assassination attempts, one that left a jagged scar across his ribs, and outmaneuvered 2 federal investigations by the time he was 24. He had moved from the street corners to a reinforced high-rise condo overlooking the Mississippi River, where the bridge lights twinkled like diamonds he didn't need to wear. He controlled the pipeline, a sophisticated network that moved weight from the border straight into the heart of the 901. He wasn't just selling cocaine anymore, he was managing a shadow economy. He owned the car washes on Elvis Presley Boulevard, the barber shops in Frazier, and the recording studios in Midtown that laundered the millions flowing through his hands. He became a ghost in the machine, employing lawyers who went to school with judges and cleaners who made problems vanish. In the underworld of Memphis, D became a myth. People spoke his name in whispers at the back of jazz clubs on Beale Street, wondering if he even existed or if he was just a collective fever dream of the city's hustle. He had achieved everything he thought he wanted: the power to move men like chess pieces, the respect of those who feared him, and a crown that felt heavier than the asphalt he used to stand on. Part 4. The Weight of the Crown. But the top of the mountain was the coldest place D had ever been. The view from his balcony was breathtaking, but all he saw were the cracks in the pavement below. He sat in his Italian leather chair, watching the sun set over the bridge, knowing that every young boy on every North Memphis porch was now whistling for him. The very system he had mastered was now producing 1,000 versions of his younger self, each one hungrier and more desperate than the last. He was the biggest dealer in the city, but he was also the most hunted man in Tennessee. The tribulations hadn't ended with his success, they had simply changed shape. He couldn't trust his shadow, let alone his lieutenants. His phone didn't ring with friends, it buzzed with threats and demands. He had the money to go anywhere in the world, yet he was a prisoner of his own zip code, trapped by the blood he had spilled and the debts he had collected. As the blue and red sirens wailed in the distance, echoing off the skyscrapers and reflecting in his floor-to-ceiling windows, Dee realized the ultimate, bitter truth of the Memphis streets. The crown isn't made of gold, it's made of lead, and eventually, the weight of it pulls everyone under the muddy waters of the Mississippi.